All right, well, I'm going to start recording for tonight. Then we'll do this in probably two different chunks. The first one I will run, and we'll continue to answer a few more of these questions, and I'll talk about a few more rule changes and things like that we're going to encounter in this upcoming campaign. And then we will move on with the rest of the Graniteback story. The opening chapter, Commoner Causes. So it'll be a good time. So, do you guys have any other questions you want me to answer moving forward?
Did I miss anything before I was online? That you guys?
I don't think so. We talked about you guys have a D6 for hit dice, but you don't actually have hit dice.
Right.
So, but you have 6 hit points plus your con mod if you chose to drop a stat to get a con bonus.
Okay.
Yeah, yep, that's how that works. So, we also talked about the.
Wait, are you really only 19?
Yeah, he just got back from his time in the militia.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's like 19 for dwarves. It's like 6.
It's very young for dwarves, but as far as being able to serve in the army, it's not too young for that. Like, he'd never be allowed to be married. He'd never be allowed to own property, but he'd be allowed to stab somebody to death if he had to.
All right. I mean, I don't know if I give my daughter a knife to stab somebody, but all right.
I would give her a spear.
Yeah, I don't think I'd give her any weapons.
Right, but I'd give your daughter a weapon.
What are you talking about? Your daughters are weapons.
Yes, that's why they don't need to have any more.
They are weapons of mass destruction. I've seen it. But yes, that's where you all learn to be proficient in the few things that you are proficient with. Light armor, shields, dagger. You'd actually be proficient with a short sword as well. Even though it's not a common item used by the Kren military, a lot of people do carry them. Shield, light armor, spear, dagger, short sword.
Should we put proficiency with short swords?
If you want, I'm pretty sure it's a common weapon.
It's a small weapon.
Simple weapon, that's what I meant.
As commoners, we are not proficient in simple weapons.
So we are only proficient in daggers.
That's so funny.
And spears.
I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you get a short sword, just play with it like you're proficient in it.
Okay,
so,
all right.
I mean, these commoner characters are only going to be around for a month anyways before they go away. So
Did you hear that though? If you get a sword, like that's the level that we're at. If you get a sword.
If you get a simple weapon.
If you're lucky enough, you might get a sword, but don't hold your hopes to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So,
I love it.
Let's see what else is going on. Any other thoughts or questions? And then I'll get to the couple other rule changes I'm making.
Does that? I don't know if it really matters, but like, how old is everybody?
Oh, we'll get to that one. That one we'll save.
Okay.
I think the only one I changed it on, my first rule thing that I want us to pay attention to is Thanox. And we are going to deal, and he's the only one who I think I changed it, but I'm going to go through and tinker with all your character sheets and adjust this. There will be 3 types of currency that we'll encounter in this campaign. There'll be silver, gold, and platinum. So that's what we'll track. Having 5 gold is doing pretty well. You're doing all right. It's probably about a month's worth of wages if you had 5 gold. So you could end it up with that probably with 4 gold. You could end it up for a month, and that would include your food, your lodging, and all that type of stuff at a common inn. Nothing too fancy. So those are your 3 currencies. We're gonna just do away with copper and electrum and all that other nonsense. It's just nonsense. So mechanically, that's how that'll be. I've also on Thanek's character sheet, and I will adjust it on everybody else's in the treasure. There is the infamy and the fame mechanics, which I mentioned on Discord, but I want to explain that a little bit more. Now, there's a couple of different kinds that I'm going to track. I have a hidden spreadsheet that I will do all this on. There will be a global renown. There will be a local area renown. There will be all that type of stuff. Will feed into this, but you guys will just track your general infamy and fame for for how much you've gained over the course of your adventure, and that will just be a general awesome thing for you. How that's going to affect you, though, now I explained it a little bit online. I said, I think I gave the example of if somebody starts a rumor about you guys. So the 7-7s are cruising around their 3 towns that they drive between to do all sorts of work. Well, let's decide they try to go to a new town, and a different dwarven caravan knows that they're coming, and they start all sorts of rumors against you. That is going to play into your global infamy, and you will not be treated well there until you earn enough points to overcome the rumor. Now that can play itself out in a number of scenarios. I mean, if you guys do something dumb in a town, it's going to carry over. If I don't have to make up a rumor about you, it might carry over. So infamy isn't necessarily how bad you've been, but it's just more of a sense of your general reputation. And your fame the same way. You do something really crazy and awesome, word's going to spread around that you've done so. And that will adjust things like charisma check DCs and all that type of stuff. When we get to areas that you've already gotten a good reputation in, the DCs will be lower. If you get into an area that you have a bad reputation in, or if you left the last town a little bit sour, it's going to carry over. So that'll be some adjustment there as well. Because I don't know where this campaign is going, a lot of that's going to depend on us. That mechanic may or may not come into a large amount of play later. We've all talked about how we want to maybe build a stronghold, and now we're talking, I was having a conversation with Adam earlier about the possibility of bear cavalry.
Bear cavalry.
Yep.
As in naked cavalry?
Yes.
Yep. No.
Everybody's naked.
Yep. Bear. Trampling cavalry. So now, if you guys want to build a stronghold, by the nature of the Kren Empire, that is a difficult endeavor to begin with. Because the military controls so much of that stuff, you'll have to do something pretty extraordinary, but your infamy and your fame is going to play a lot into that. So if you have a good reputation with the right people in the right areas, you might be able to get stuff done better. And even if, let's say you have a bad reputation in an area, but you have fame with the nobles, let's say the people hate you, but the nobility likes you, because that's something that I track as well. Like, how do the common folk feel about you? How do the rich people feel about you? Depending on what's going on there, that's going to affect whether or not you guys can get land for a stronghold or how that all plays out. So it's a deep mechanic that on your side is going to seem a little surfaceful as far as what you get to track, because I'll tell you, all right, you guys, you gained 2 infamy points and 3 fame points today. And that's going to be like, okay, cool, what does that mean? It means a lot on my end. Yours, it's just a general idea of what kind of path of destruction you've left in your wake wherever you've been. So, anybody got any questions about that?
Yeah,
Like an average of all the different ones that you're tracking, or?
It's just the points that you've earned.
Okay.
As a total.
So it might have been 3 for the nobility, 2 for the commoners, and 1 for the general, but it adds up to be 6.
Correct. Yep, okay. That's actually exactly how I'm tracking it. I will give you an amount, and it'll be divided amongst certain things, but your full amount is this. You just don't know how it's been divided.
Okay.
And that lets us kind of figure out where we're at, infamy-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I assume if we've never been to a place, or we haven't been to a place in a long time, we're not going to be up to date on our reputation with them. My question is, like, how will we know what our infamy or fame would be at a town that, like, if we have a general fame of 10, okay, but then we go to this other town and they hate us there, like, how will we know? I don't know how to make that question work, but just I
think I know what you're going at. How do you know what your reputation's going to be depending on where you are to where you're from?
Yeah.
Well, that is something that you'll have to extrapolate a little bit on your end, depending on what you've just done recently in the nearby area.
Okay.
Would we be able to do an insight check of a sort to kind of get a sense of where we're at in the town?
Absolutely. Yep. If you meet somebody that, say, they're somebody at the tavern who seems to be in the know, that one guy who's always talking, and you could be like, hey, we're new to this area, but we've done some stuff over here. Have you guys heard of us? You can make an insight check or a persuasion check, any of those types of checks to see whatever they say about you, and to figure out if it's just that person who's ticked off, or if like that person's whole clan is ticked off, or whatever else. It's something I want you guys to be aware of, but again, it's not something you should overcomplicate. It's one of those things where it just helps me set the tone of the mood of the people for where you're going, and it gives you a general sense of what have you done that's awesome, and what have you done that was not so awesome. But it will have some lasting consequences when it comes to long-term things in the campaign.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, so I was listening this whole time from the other room, but I wanted to ask: Did anyone say anything before about tool proficiencies? Is that a thing?
We did talk a little bit about that earlier. The way it works out with your backgrounds is you can have 3 tool proficiencies, or you can have expertise in one, and then you have another tool you're proficient with.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I did that right, because that is what I did. I did the latter.
Yep. Yeah, because you guys are traveling clansmen and tradesmen, you have all worked with all sorts of tools your whole lives, even if your life has only been 19 years. You were born and trained to do this stuff, and proficiency doesn't mean it doesn't matter if you like it or not. Filbert maybe does a bad job with his tools, but it's got more to do with the fact that he doesn't like doing it, not that he's not good with it. Then again, he might not be good with it either. He might be proficient with weird stuff. We'll just have to see what Filbert does.
I'm taking the Glassblower's tools expertise. There's a lot of sand here. I've gotten really good at it.
Awesome. So that's how that's going to work. Any other general questions, or any questions spawned off of the fame and infamy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Sounds cool.
Cool. Then the other thing I want to talk a little bit about is I am going to play a little bit looser with roles on some things. And here's what I mean by that. I'm not going to be sitting back here fudging the roles to tell the story I want to tell. That's not cool. But in order to speed things up or to add good drama to it, let's say you guys are fighting a monster and somebody does something really awesome and leaves it at 1 hit point. I'm just going to kill it and let that person who did something really awesome just kill it. I'm not going to be stuck on the 1 hit point mechanic. However, the reverse is true. If you fumble around and crit fail on your first 2 attacks as a fighter, and your last one you manage to hit it, but you only rolled a 2 for damage, and it ends up with 1 hit point, I'm going to let that sucker struggle on because you didn't do a very good job. So, I'm going to do that stuff. I will always... The only time... I'm of the opinion that the only time a DM should alter roles is if they made a mistake, not the players. But for moving forward, because we want this season to be a little bit more story and drama intensive and not quite so oppressive and more fun and the opportunity to do a little bit crazier stuff, I will be fudging more of that. So if you're sitting there thinking, man, this thing, I can't believe I killed it, even though I did this really cool thing, it's probably because I wanted you to kill it because you did this really cool thing.
Okay.
So with that said, there's this unwritten rule that gets talked about in D&D, and I don't think the phraseology's ever appeared in the rule books, but it's the rule of cool. If you want to try something that's really cool, you have a better chance of getting away with that in this campaign than you did our last one.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. The rule of cool a lot of times in the last campaign would have gotten you hurt or killed. That is not necessarily going to be the case this time around. I'm still going to tell you guys, I don't think you can pull that off, or that's a bit too crazy. Or I'm going to try more often to say, well, you can certainly attempt that, and we'll see what happens. But just know if you try and do something wild like shoot yourself out of an experimental cannon when they've barely even learned how to shoot cannonballs, you're probably in for a bad time. So,
but you might end up in Waterdeep.
Something really cool might happen as well. So I want you guys to be a little bit more free with that. I'm going to be a little bit more free on my end with that type of stuff. I also, and I don't know if we need to talk about this today, but I'm kicking around the idea because I know looking at where you guys are going with your future classes, that it's probably going to get brought up. I want to talk about the Sentinel feat.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I would actually. There's a clarification that I would love on this. So go ahead and talk, and then I just have a question.
There's a couple of things going on with the Sentinel feat. There is actually a ton of discussion about it at Wizards right now because the response to the feat is so all over the place from the fan base and the player base. I think I am going to make the Sentinel feat a 2-part feat. I'm going to make it Sentinel version 1 and Greater Sentinel, especially because with this campaign we're going to tie quests and training and things to our feats more than levels. I think it makes a little bit more sense where the first part of the Sentinel allows you to hit, just like it says, you get to smack somebody if it smacks your friend. Cool.
Okay.
You get to do that. And then I think the second part of it is you can drop their movement speed to 0. But I'm going to set a saving throw against your attack DC for the creatures that do that. Just because it was so frustrating for me in the last campaign to have boss monsters stopped.
Yeah.
Because they're
No,
not
I agree.
they're not even allowed a saving throw, so I can't by rules even burn a legendary resistance on it. Now I think I could have gotten away with it and said that, but so it was just one of those things that I just didn't like it. And maybe you can get both versions of the Sentinel feat right away if you invest enough time or you play it right, but we'll see. We'll play with that. But that's my thoughts on Sentinel. I doubt I clarified what you were gunning for, though. So
I mean, sort of not really, but what is the explanation for why Sentinel makes them stop moving in the first place?
I don't think there is one.
And I don't think there is one.
No, I don't think Sentinel does.
It does.
It
Sentinel
does.
stops them from moving.
I believe the mentality for that is to give the tank a little bit more power over the movement of enemies.
No,
So
I
the
understand the
tank-
mechanics of it, but like the in-game explanation.
There isn't one.
If you
There is. I'm going.
Yeah.
So I mean, the way that I always thought, the only way that I ever thought that whole mechanic made sense is if it was paired with Polearm Mastery. And if you're charging me and I hit you with a polearm from range, you should stop.
That's part of Polearm Master.
Yes, no, it's part of Polearm Mastery that you get a opportunity attack if they come within range, but not that they stop.
Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
part that they stopped, too.
No,
It's the Sentinel that forces them to stop.
Okay.
yeah, it's a combination of the two. I mean, like, I would be totally happy with homebrewing that so that Polearm Mastery will make them stop a charge
Mm-hmm.
so that they can't get in range within you. But I don't know why they would be able to not get away from you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that makes any sense.
Especially if something's taking the disengage action.
That is a paladin thing. No, it's not. Paladin thing is just
Yeah.
you.
No,
you
that's
get
what I'm
to
saying.
move.
Like, I never even realized that Sentinel by itself did that because
Yeah.
I had the Paladin ability that did that. That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
It's really broken.
Sentinel by itself.
And I mean I'm a big boy and I figured out how to play end game stuff with you guys by the end. It was hard though. And it's just really frustrating when you have a monster that you have the disengage action, but your party has planned for things to never get away, so they've sentineled up to counteract intelligence and creatures escaping. And it's just what it does is, Andy and I were talking about this earlier over a different issue. It causes me as the DM to purposely do things to circumvent your powers, which isn't fun.
Yeah.
And it's just dumb to do that. So I just thought we'd add a little bit extra work to the feat in order to make the game not so grueling for our enemies.
No, I mean, I think that stopping thing, that stopping part of Sentinel should be its own separate feat, and that's the only thing it does.
And that's why I thought about making it 2-tiered.
Yeah.
It's like you really got to invest in this if you want that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then okay, you've done that. That's the way you've purposely designed your character to do it. Okay, that's different then. So
Yeah. Have it be, instead of just I attack you, so you stop, but have it be like a bolo or something where you like wrap it around their wings or their legs or something. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
I think that's it. I think that's all that I wanted to talk about going in. Other stuff we've already discussed on Discord. Sentinel doesn't really play into any of this for a long time anyway, so we have a chance to discuss that. I just wanted to get it out there because it's something that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, no, definitely. I 100% agree with that. I mean, as a player, I liked the combination of Polearm Mastery and Sentinel, but that's a hefty investment. I mean, you're not going to get that until level 8 at the earliest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For most characters, anyways. But still, I don't like Sentinel just stopping just because it's Sentinel. It doesn't make sense to me.
All right, cool. So, with that said, then, the last thing I'm going to do is find out who dies.
Oh, I have a question about that. Excuse me, and I think you told us earlier, but how is that being determined? Like you're gonna make the call, and are you gonna tell us in between sessions so that we have time to like prepare like a good story-driven epic death? Is that how you were gonna do that?
I haven't decided yet.
We like stories.
No, I have not 100% decided yet. That is one of my options. I think that's a good one, so that way I can partner with the player to do that. But
I love that idea.
I do too, but at the same time, having the absolute shock of everyone is also really cool. That
That's
no
true.
one's sitting there going, I didn't see it coming. You know, so I might bait and switch. I might talk to somebody and be like, okay, it's your week. And then when we get to it, I kill somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
Question.
yeah.
If someone dies beforehand, are you going to let us know whether or not that was the mystery?
I think no. I think you should not do that.
I agree.
Yep. That is, I will not let you know. And I think there's a really good chance if you get killed before that, you'll probably know it was not the mystery death. Because the mystery death will be something that will be epic for that character. I will either have it crafted, like the adventure will be very character driven. And then, or they will have an opportunity to really be themselves in that moment of demise. Honestly, if we lose a character along the way, it's probably because combat went really bad. That's not the way I would 100% plan to off a character. And sure, it might be in a combat, but it would be in a combat against an arch enemy that this happens, or something like of that nature. So it wouldn't be like you run into a pack of kobolds and they all decide to target you with their slings and you're just done. You know? Yeah. Or Peritons.
Dude, Peritons are, I mean, like, the way that happened, I mean, Peritons are now the apex predator of Barovia.
I tell you what, since you guys almost wiped those stupid Peritons all those months ago, I'd been saving them for that moment. It's like this is what's gonna happen here. So, yep.
I love the full circle thing. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's how the character death will be. I now know who it will be, and I'll start making plans as the story develops. I would say I will let you guys know this. I will not enact that death before level 6. So we have some time with these guys. Part of that is because I want us to develop. I want whenever this goes, I want it to mean something. So.
Sure.
But again, that doesn't mean you're safe. This is still a Mike game. I'm not playing in the Gothic horror world, but I do intend to challenge you. And if you get killed, you get killed. Sucks to be you. So.
Oh, hey, I had a question. And this might, you might have already planned for this or what, but with and this really isn't going to make much difference until later on in the game, anyways. And I don't even know if we have a healer to kind of counteract that. But with the armor class issue, the cap being 22, yes. I think it is, right?
Yeah, after 20, cap's 21.
Caps
So
21.
anytime they roll 22, or you can have an armor class higher than 21, but then it basically becomes Barbarian Rage.
Yeah. Which is totally fine, and I like that idea because like people having like 30 plus AC is ridiculous.
I agree.
Does that work for enemies as well? Like if we fight a dragon that has 25 AC or whatever, is that going to have the 21 AC cap as well?
Some of them will. Most things you fight probably will, but something like a legendary dragon will just have a higher AC. But as a general rule of thumb, yes. But you should expect the potential for boss-style creatures to
be unique.
To be unique and to be able to circumvent that rule. And I'm not ruling out there might be certain magical items at the end game that allow you guys to circumvent that rule as well as you move into that more legendary area of the game. But yes, don't ever expect to be able to be popping off an armor of 32 again on me because that did the same thing that the Sentinel. Yeah, that did the same thing that the Sentinel feat did. It just caused me to rework monsters in order to challenge you, which is just more work than I want to put into the game. So
no, which is like I fundamentally I really like that idea. My potential issue with it is there might, I don't know. I mean, well, I guess we'll find out. But there might come a point where like, because I mean, some of the higher end monsters, level 14, 15 monster or whatever, they're doing like 30, 40, 50 damage. They can, you know. So even if we are only taking half damage on that, we might still end up taking damage every single round, no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yep. Correct.
So I as long as there's fluidity and thought process on that.
I think it'll really balance itself out, and here's why. Just so you guys are a little bit more comfortable with it. After level 15, there was not a single monster you faced that did not come to the table with maximum hit points.
Okay.
So.
That doesn't surprise me.
In every last one of them, I doctored their ability to hit you. I almost constantly clicked the +5 button on Fantasy Grounds. So it's a super valid concern, and if I feel like 21 is too soft of a number and we need to pop it up a few more, we will.
Okay.
I haven't had anybody to play test through that yet to see if it works, but I think looking at how much a monster can hit and shouldn't hit, and the types that can hit for +13, +14, they're ancient dragons, they're archdemons, they're a big deal. So they're battles that you should be expecting to take damage in all the time. You will also, at that point, not be being hit with area effect things every round that drain your hit points because, well, I need to kill you somehow.
Yeah.
You know, those things might still exist. Yes, those things might still exist, but the DMG recommends that you use 3d6 for those. I'm using like 3d12 on you guys. So a lot of that gets adjusted, and it's just one of those things that I figured out running high-end play that there's no other way to figure out.
Yeah.
No, I fully admit that is a terrible flaw in the system that can be exploited, just as we saw.
Yeah.
And it's not fun for anybody.
No.
I mean, it's fun for the players to be that powerful, but it gets to the point where it just feels trivial.
Well, I mean, it's like there's a point of it where, like, I mean, I was like, my level 1 version of Fennec, he's gonna have 16 AC, and I'm looking at that like, oh my gosh, he's so weak. He's gonna get killed off, and it's like, no, it's 16 AC. That's actually fairly high.
It's actually really high.
Yeah.
For what you'll be facing in that zone, that's a respectable AC.
And that happened when I started playing. Well, when we played the last set of characters, with Graham and whatnot, you're like, oh, yeah, I have a 17 AC or an 18 AC. Like, how am I going to survive?
Right.
And I said, well, they're still pretty much indestructible.
Yeah, you'll do a good job.
Yeah.
And there should be, knowing what's coming for your group, there should be a decent amount of healing floating around. So.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I obviously don't know what class everybody's working with. I don't know if we were gonna have a healer or not, but I mean, I know we can functionally get through an entire campaign without a dedicated healer. I just didn't know.
I mean, look at last game.
I know last game we had 2.
A cleric and a paladin, no heals.
No,
None.
No.
None.
Paladin, it was a healer, there was a cleric, and a wish.
A wish that got used asking for a bed.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and that said, we mentioned character classes. There are 3 out of you 4 who have at least 20, or at least probably going to 25% tinker your character class. So there's custom classes coming for this run, and that's cool. If number 4 wants to go with a straight book class, that's great. If they want to be like, hey, no, look, I want to do these types of things, that's cool too. We'll figure it out. I don't mind that. This campaign will be a lot more exploratory of building your character to do what you see them doing. That's why I want feats to be quests and things like that. And inside of that, that's going to bring me to my last little point here for our session 0 before session 1, and that is downtime. Expect to have a lot more downtime in this. There might be a couple of weeks in a row where you're dealing with a major issue, but I do not plan on stringing events back to back to back to back the way we did in the Realms of Terror, where you just felt like you could never take a breath. So that's going to give you guys the ability. Sometimes you're going to say, okay, I want to get this feat. Well, we're going to plan a month of downtime, and you have 4,000 gold. Well, guess what? You're going to take a trip during that month to go find the person who can teach it to you. That's going to be completely acceptable. If you want to craft specialized items, that is completely acceptable. Now, you're all proficient with spears, but if somebody wants to make a 2-sided pike because they're taking the polearm master feat and they want to invest in that and then get a D6 instead of a D4 with the butt because they're spinning their spear around, I'm probably going to let you do it. And I'm probably going to let you use your downtime to make such a weapon. So that type of stuff is going to be available to you guys after you're done being commoners. So think ahead for what you might want to do. All sorts of fun bells and whistles. Now, I'm not going to let you go too crazy and do game-breaking stuff, because obviously we just had a conversation about not breaking the game. But if it's something that's really cool that makes sense for your character, that is within reason for your level and skill, we'll probably make it happen. So downtime will also be a time where you can say, well, let's say we're taking a month before another adventure rolls around. Hey, can Othig travel to another nearby Kren city and work on our reputation? Yes, you can.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
That type of stuff you can do that too. So it's not just making stuff, it's not just learning stuff, it's actually interacting with the world around you in an interesting way. And when that happens, there might be like rumors and quests that pop up that you guys can go and do. So I do have a really good idea for some overarching, like, this is where the story is going for at least through level 10. And then, but a lot of this campaign I want to be driven by, what do you guys want to do? I don't want you to feel like you have to go to this place or this place. If you guys want to pack up and be like, screw Kren, let's go over to Chamsburg, sweet, let's do it. That's fine. I don't care. If you want to just become high seas explorers and get a boat and sail east to the wildlands, let's do it.
Pirate craftsman.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. I am. It's not like running a module, and it's not like running the Realms of Terror. We are not beholden to stay.
Samurai dwarves.
Yeah. So.
Hey, time wise, it's the same. Is it the same year as what?
The commoners will start out a year ago.
Okay, but as far as like our actual campaign will be same date.
Yes, you will start playing it in a parallel date to everything else that's going on.
Okay.
The commoners are a year ago. So what has happened in your country, I'll get to that when we start the campaign story. So any questions about downtime?
Hey, Mike, not a question about downtime, but is there a plan, do you have a plan on how long this campaign is going? Because I know, the last one we did, what, it was like 2 years, right?
It was 16 months. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep. I mean, if you count Argynvost and the other stuff, it was a year and a half. It was a full year and a half. But,
Yeah.
Yep. We started it at the beginning of May, and then we cooked along to October.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So is this going to be shorter, longer, the same?
Time-wise, I have no idea. I think I will have you on pretty close to the same XP, gain in base. But we played for 3 months at level 20. So,
yeah.
I mean...
that's totally fine. Like, I was just trying to figure out... I just wanted to know, like, if there was a plan, or if there wasn't a plan, I was totally okay with that, too, because I think that actually feels... I don't know, I just prefer... That just seems better, I guess.
Well, my first... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I liked playing at 20 for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because I don't know that many of us have ever made it to 20. I mean, I know I've never, especially from 1 to 20.
Yep.
Granted, I wasn't person died, but like that was a new experience. So I have no problem playing for a little bit with the character that you raise all the way up to 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing. Like, you get, here's the capstone abilities, but then you're done.
And then you're done. Yay!
Yeah, it was kind of like I wasn't even worried about it at first, but then, as we were like barreling down on it, I was like, oh man, but now I really want to, even more than I did before.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I think with some of the rules we're implementing, being level 20, you won't be fighting things at level 15 that I should be saving for 20. So there'll be more to do at those end levels than there was the last time. And time-wise, I think, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we like what we're doing. Like I said, my story that I'm cooking up in the background of whatever you guys choose to do, it's very fluid. So wherever you choose to do, I can implement our story. It should take us to about a level 10, level 12. And then after that, we'll see what happens. If we were like, that was cool, and then I'm like, well, do you want to do another higher level run with these guys? Which you'll probably say yes, because you'll love your guys by then. And, Yep. And so,
except for the one that lost theirs.
Yeah, that's true. And so then we'll cook on from there, and I'll crank out something new, and it'll be fine. Or if you're like, no, let's go back. It was really fun to start out low again and move up. Then cool, we'll do that. So.
I would like to add one thing about the custom characters.
Yeah.
If you guys notice anything, like something is grossly overpowered or grossly underpowered or whatever, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Especially me. Like, I don't want you guys to hate the fact that I'm playing something special at the expense of you guys. So, if you notice something is out of whack, let me know.
Yeah, same here. I think for the most part, my stuff is pretty baseline.
Yeah.
But
Andy is going to be a bit of an experiment.
Yeah.
It's almost a completely new form of class.
And I've done a lot of tinkering with it, and I've done a lot of playtesting, but it's all been very, like, oh, let's throw a small combat together. It hasn't been anything with other people yet. So
yeah, I mean, there might be a situation where it becomes glaringly obvious that something's not right.
Yes. So definitely let me know.
Okay.
All right.
We have backup plans just in case. So.
Yep, we do.
Okay.
You guys have any other thoughts?
You might go into more detail about this, but the caravan itself, you mentioned like staying in taverns and stuff. What does our caravan look like? Does it have do we have places to stay in our own caravan?
Well, yes and no. For the most part, the Kren Empire gets rain enough for plants to stay fairly growing and things like that. It's not quite an African environment where you get deluges and seasons. You get rain. But for the most part, you guys camp in tents that pop up off of the Vardos. And the Vardos are crafting stations, tool sheds, those types of things. The heads of the families the clan heads, they stay in one of those Vardos as well. They're 2-story because you're dwarves, so you don't need as much room. So your Vardos are all 2-story, and they have their own mini apartments up on the 2nd floor of each of them. But for the most part, all the clansmen stay in really well put together tents that pop out.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else? And no, we are not sieging Booty Bay. Maybe.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Maybe, though.
I say, let's get to it.
Agreed.
Agreed? All right. Give me just a sec then to open up the proper thing.